Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream of things that never were and say, why not? That is the quote that I heard the other day, and it stuck with me because really, answers to any questions in your life are the questions themselves. The way you look at life and certain things you look for are in a way the deciding factor where you're headed. Because if you ask the wrong questions, you suddenly are in a wrong position. You don't really look for the correct thing in your situation. Let's say you were dealt bad cards and you ask God, why me? Why do I have to experience this? Why such bad things happen to me? Why do I deserve this? See how that does not benefit you at all, because in a way you're just being a pussy. And what if you ask God those questions like, how can I use this situation to get better, to learn from it? How can I achieve something? How can I become this person? How can I get this car? How can I get this job? How can I attract this woman or whatever? Not asking why bad things happen to me, because it doesn't matter. Bad things happen to everyone. Believe me, you're not alone. I think that most of the problems we have are not really problems. They're just an imagination that we have. And so, for example, Henry Ford, we know this guy because he created one of the biggest car companies in the world, but at the time, cars were not available to everyone. It was a luxury accessory. Only the richest people could afford these. And what Henry Ford wanted to do was basically make them available to everyone. He wanted to make this accessible to the people that were not rich. He wanted to mass produce it, but at the time it was not even considered by everyone. It was considered impossible, really. But he had a single question to solve this problem. He asked, how can I mass produce cars? He had this one question and he looked for an answer. That question was leading him in the correct direction, because he was looking for a thing that he wanted to achieve. He wasn't asking why I'm in such a position where cars are not available. He asked, how can I make them available? See, there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it from the wrong way, being afraid, feeling down, feeling depressed, sad, or whatever, negative emotions, feeling bad about yourself. Or you can use the situation to look for the correct answer. That is the direction that you will be headed if you want to do something. Another example could be more down to earth, that we all could relate. Let's say I have a dream to buy a Bugatti. We all know how much it cost. It cost $3 million. And to buy it, you of course need more, because you can't just put your whole net worth on a single car. So you need at least like 20 million to be safe, 10 million to be crazy, 6 million to be a dumb motherfucker. But anyways, 20 million is to be safe. And how can you achieve such a net worth? That is the right question. How can you achieve such a net worth of 20 million? Let me tell you how you cannot achieve this net worth. If you are the best engineer in the world, you work for Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Meta, I mentioned it already, but whatever, best companies in the world, their engineers get paid from around 200 to 500,000 a year. That is their salary. Now let's do the math. How many years do you have to work to achieve 20 million net worth? Let me tell you, that is around 80 years if you don't spend a single cent, which is obviously not the reality. We need to eat, we need to buy things to survive. And so working for 80 years, you will not even live 80 years. Suddenly you won't work that much. You could work for 50, 55 at much, but then you're done. So being the best engineer in the world, which is the most prestigious role that you can get in the world, it's impossible for you to buy a Bugatti, even though people drive with Bugattis. They have multiple ones. So you suddenly see how a question like that can tell you your direction. And it tells you directly that you shouldn't settle down for working for someone else. That is a great catalyst to start your career and work for someone else. Bump up your salary, raise your salary, climb up that hierarchy, that market, getting better roles, better paychecks, but eventually you'll get there where it's not applicable and you will have to do something about it, because as we did the math, buying a Bugatti, working for someone else, it's impossible. Not only impossible mentally, but physically it's impossible. So that is a shift that you will have to make, and I'm not saying I know the answer, but I certainly know what a person shouldn't do to get there. But what he should do is, of course, he should find out himself, and that is by asking yourself questions. How can I do this? And eventually these questions will hopefully lead to your goals. And so I don't know the answer. Maybe because I'm not in the top company yet, but when I'll get there, I will ask this question myself again.